Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
We may be 1 week away from the first of the iRacing special events, the Daytona 24 presented by VCO. But here on Racer Nexus, we still have more miles to cover. Welcome along, everybody, to Racer Nexus for broadcasting live of the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits iRacing League from the World Centre of Racing, none other than the Daytona International Speedway Road Course. Good evening, everybody. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. I'm joined in the booth by Mac Nelson once again as we are heading towards the tail end of this series with 2 more rounds still to go. Next week, the series heads to Long Beach, and then after that, we'll go to Sebring for the final round on January 24th. Mac, this circuit needs no introduction. It is a true sports car classic.
Yeah, no introduction. You're definitely right on that one, Alex. And I'm really excited to see the drivers of the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 series here. I want to see them do battle here because it's going to be a very good precursor for what we have coming up next weekend.
Indeed, and a big thank you to you all for joining us live on the Racer Nexus broadcast booth. We have warm-up qualifying has already been completed. As per usual, it is a 60-minute sprint. Open setups. Fuel limits will be capped at 65%. The drivers have at their disposal unlimited tyres. 2 fast repairs allowed per race. And more to the point, this particular circuit measures 3.6 miles, opened back in 1985. Of course, we are 2 weeks away from the IRL Rolex 24 that starts the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship for 2026, which I'm really excited. I know a lot of you race fans will be too. And more to the point, it is the case of, there's still bragging rights. We have got a multitude of manufacturers. We have BMW, Ford, Porsche, McLaren, Lamborghini, Corvette, and Mercedes on tonight's grid. And that's the beauty about GT3s, Mac. There is always variety.
Yeah, always variety, and I'm a big fan of the Mercedes AMG. It's the one that I've clicked with the most on the iRacing official service. Not getting as much love now as it did a couple of years ago. The new dogs, you know, the Ford Mustang, the Aston Martin, you know, they're making their way. They're doing their best to be the best car on iRacing. But that's what's so cool about this series, whether it be in real life or on the iRacing official service. There is going to be variety. You can hop into any GT3 car you want, and you can just drive, man. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, just turning laps.
Yep, and there we see Aaron Stanford for the AMS Engineering 958 Lamborghini Huracan GT3. 5.2 litre naturally aspirated mid-mounted V10. And as always, this car provides a wonderful noise as Aaron makes his way through the tri-oval. 18 degrees worth of banking. But at the oval turns, when we go through turn 8, turn 9, turn 12 and turn 13, 31 degrees of banking. So Daytona, in its own right, provides one of the ultimate sports car tests known around the globe. And more to the point, these drivers are getting themselves ready, of course, open setup. So there may be these little bit of fine tweaking before we go green for 60 minutes here at the World Centre of Racing. And it's always a pleasure to see sports cars racing around this particular circuit. Of course, the World Centre of Speed opened back in 1959. We're just about 50 miles away from Orlando. But as always, the track temperatures can be conducive to great racing. There's Kyle Smith in the Turn 3 Esports Monster Energy liveried BMW M4 GT3 3-litre straight six twin scroll turbo. And always a good all-rounder, but a big lock-up into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe by the number 55 BMW. So Kyle will decide to pull that back into pit lane as we have just over a minute 20 left to go. Rafael Rodriguez, second of the Brazilians on the grid, running with a nice Ayrton Senna signature on that Brazilian flag liveried BMW. Of course, Ayrton Senna, three-time a Formula One world champion in 1988, 1989 and 1991 with McLaren. So he's not the only Brazilian that we've got on this grid. Of course, João Baptista, who we've seen in the Elite Motorsports Team 03 Ford Mustang. Jed Cotterman has been really, really racy in the number 7 Porsche. Of course, Porsche, one of those marques that have been around for quite a long time. The 992 GT3R doing its standout run around here at Daytona. And Jed Cotterman for the Cotterman Racing Team once again in the number 7 Porsche, showing really good pace in qualifying. And we've seen him in the mix. Of course, you and I last broadcasted this series back 2 weeks ago when we went to VIR, but then, oh dear, now that is not what you want to do. That was Ron Blackwell in the number 27 McLaren going completely off circuit and nearly collecting Jed Cotterman in the process. And this is not what you want to see happen. The back end takes a step out to the left, and he was lucky. He was lucky he did not collect Cotterman there, but unfortunately, at least it's in warm-up, not in the race, as the checkered will be out for the session. Kyle Smith goes off again, as Jed Cotterman was about to make his way down the back stretch, heading into the Le Mans chicane, but the warm-up is completed. 60 minutes to wait, Mac, and Daytona always brings that air of unpredictability.
Yeah, very, very unpredictable, and, you know, with the Turn 1 track limits now being in effect for the iRacing official service, it's going to be really interesting to see. This is going to be my first, race after seeing these new track limit changes in Turn 1. This is going to be my first experience here. So I'm very, very excited to see how this race is going to turn out.
Indeed, it will be the iconic run down to Turn 1. And then it's more the case of here is your grid. Kyle Smith will lead in the Turn 3 Esports 55 BMW from pole position. João Baptista in the 03 Mustang will be alongside him on the front row. Then it's Porsche versus McLaren. Jed Cotterman and Jeff Sanders round out row 2. Jamie MacArthur and Carl Dersham will round out row 3. Doug Betts and Josiah Kelly. That's Porsche versus Ferrari, row 4. All Mustang, row 5 with Philip Kenny and Dennis Crosby. And then we've got Aaron Sanford and Stephen Fleury rounding out your top 12. Oliver Brooks and Kenneth Köpping rounding out row 7. Rafael Rodriguez and Terry Vincent rounding out row 8. James Clark and Jesse Chase row 9, with Michael Prince and Shahan Kareem rounding out your top 20. Doug Miller, Timothy Rosanov, Ryan Peters and Jacob Cummings round out your top 12 rows, and rounding out the rear of the grid is the 27 McLaren, the USA's Ron Blackwell, as we have the BMW N2 pace car leading the field. And we said about these bankings here, 31 degrees. It is a skill set on its own in a GT3 car round here at Daytona here, Mac. These drivers will be going pedal to the metal, but trying to keep that car as straight as possible around those particular turns.
Yeah, and if anybody here has watched NASCAR, you know things can get rowdy on the NASCAR track. Will it happen here? We will have to find out.
So, lights are about to go to red. Barney, the flag marshal, waiting to wave us away on the green flag. The pace car will come in this time. Kyle Smith and João Baptista will bring us to green through the Geico acceleration zone as now they start to accelerate. We are green here for 60 minutes at the World Centre of Racing, and a good start by Kyle Smith. Jed Cotterman following in his wheel tracks, heading into Turn 1 for the first time. João Baptista gets hung out to dry ever so slightly in the 03 Mustang. Jeff Sanders has dropped down to 5th. Jamie MacArthur down to 4th. But there's been a little bit of contretemps. Carl Dersham goes off the circuit. And that is not exactly what he needed. Josiah Kelly's made up 3 spots. Oh no! That was Stephen Flurry, and he's broadsides, and it's caused pinball wizardry at the Rodriguez International Horseshoe for the first time. There was going to be cold tyres and cold brakes going into turns 1 and 2. And we're going to have a look at the replay. It caused a few problems. Rafael Rodriguez having a slight coming together with Terry Vincent in the number 1 BMW, but more to the point, Stephen Flurry, the first one that really got the rough end of the stick, so to speak there. That was not how you want to enter the Rodriguez International Horseshoe at turn 3. Meantime, Kyle Smith and Jed Cotterman have started to bridge a little bit of a gap. Joao Baptista in that 5.4 litre naturally aspirated Coyote-powered V8 Mustang is trying to chase them down. Jamie MacArthur up 1 spot. Josiah Kelly in the number 11 Ferrari has made his way up 3 places from 8th on the grid. Runs P5 as they exit the Le Mans chicane for the first time, and then back through turns 12 and 13 before they go onto the front stretch through the trial. And of course, you mentioned about those track 1 turn limits, and that is going to be very, very crucial. Shahan Kareem at the moment has made up 9 spots at the moment in the 111 Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo as Jed Cotterman in the slipstream of Carl Smith as we complete the opening lap, and it's the run down to turn 1 again. And in the meantime, Joao Baptista has also caught up with the top 2 as they come through out of turn 2. Great start to an early bit of battling for the sharp end of the field.
Yeah, and I mean, who else than Jed Cotterman and Joao Baptista, Alex? I mean, these guys were going to war. They do it every single week. Kyle Smith in that number 55 BMW, someone who you don't entirely expect to see up here. He is not afraid to get his elbows out, though. He is a racer at heart, and that's what he's going to do here.
Yeah, Stephen Flurry is in pit lane, and also, whilst I've been talking, Shahan Kareem was up to P11, has now dropped all the way down to 23rd. We're going to have a look at the replay going into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, dives to the inside on the number 45 BMW Michael Prince, and over rotates coming out of the corner whilst hitting the loud pedal. So Shahan Kareem, all that hard work on the opening lap, 9 places gained, and that has been a drop all the way down a further 12 places to 23rd. So he's got to make some moves as we are nearly we're over 3 minutes into the Le Mans chicane for the second time, and pretty even in terms of pace. Kyle Smith with a 152.434, Jed Cotterman of 52.6, Joao Baptista of 53.0, but Baptista closing in on the 992 Porsche GT3R, and sparks flying from the front diffuser as they come out of turn number 13. And this could be the opportunities. They hit the tri-oval. Baptista switching to the outside line to get the possible crisscross here into T1 underneath under the braking zone, and he's just about nearly got it, but Jed Cotterman parks that through turn number 1 into turn 2. There goes Stephen Flurry now rejoins after repairing 45 seconds worth of damage on the number 71 Ferrari, and he's nearly a lap down. But that was a real shame for Stephen, having that big moment early doors going into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. Joao Baptista on the flashes to the number 71 Ferrari, as if to say, just stay where you are, don't move, let us go through, we are the race leaders. And Stephen Flurry kindly obliges, but again, that's the first thing that Stephen Flurry would not want to have, is to be lapped very early in the race.
Yeah, but, I mean, sometimes things like that are going to happen when you're early on in the race. You have those early race jitters. You make that big mistake like Joao Baptista did there, just kissing the wall going into turn number 1 of the NASCAR oval. And, yeah, you know, Stephen Flurry, not the best start for him, but, hey, he can bounce back. He's a good driver. Everybody knows that on the grid. And better for that to happen now than to happen 57 minutes into the 60-minute race.
Indeed, and in the meantime, there has been a change for P3. Jamie MacArthur, we just saw in shot going round the outside at turn number 13. Well, turn 9 outside of Joao Baptista, and Stephen Flurry staying in the wheel tracks of the 03 Mustang. So here we see the pass. The Canadian in the number 7 75 Porsche getting a double toe round turn 8 and turn 9, and the 4-litre naturally aspirated flat 6 boxer engine manages to make his way through with good pace, and through the speed traps we are seeing speeds approaching just over 180 miles an hour. James Clark in the 21 Corvette Z06 GT3R hit a top speed of 181.6 miles an hour, and that is pretty quick, especially with the amount of slipstream you can get. But more to the point, Kyle Smith has started to pull a little bit of a gap between himself and Jed Connerman, and the gap is 1.1 seconds. And the BMW, the number 55 in the Monster Energy livery, has just put in the first sub 1 minute 45 second lap time of 44.9, dead on the nose by the turn 3 esports driver. So he's starting to pull away. The BMW always is that customary GT3 all-rounder, as Carl Dersham has had a mechanical, so he's suffered damage. He is in pit road at the moment. Terry Vincent in the number 1 BMW has just exited pit lane. So there is Terry Vincent in the Liquid Molly liveried BMW. Nice choice of livery by the number 1 as he makes his exit out of pit road. Carl Dersham is going to be there for quite a while, I'm afraid, just over 60 minutes on his markers in the pit lane. So I'd imagine the 093 Mustang will have sustained damage, whereas Joao Baptista is starting to chase down the number 75 of Canada's Jamie MacArthur to try and retake that 3rd place back.
Yeah, and Joao Baptista, he does it every single time I watch this guy drive. He is always in the race. He's always in contention. And just when he rocks you to sleep, he's like an NBA point guard. He rocks you to sleep, and when you think he's just back there for the rest of the race, that is when he strikes. That is when he takes it to the outside for a cheeky little overtake, maybe a switchback. You never know with him. And here in turn number 1, he almost got it done, but I'm a big fan of the way Joao Baptista drives that Ford Mustang.
Yeah, very much in the vein of Ayrton Senna, just, you know, dancing with the car on the limits. We're going to have a look here. Now, this is going to be Stephen Flurry. And round the... Oh, he gets a clatter in and a turnaround at turn 1. Oh, not good for him. And Jeff Sanders in the number 30 McLaren has just gone off the circuit. He started P4 on the road, so Jeff Sanders has had dramas as well. We're going to have a look at the... Oh, he's gone off on the infield, and that's off of turn 2. So not exactly a good way for Jeff Sanders for the Raccoon Sim Racing outfit in the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo. So he's also suffered dramas for being at the sharp end of the grid. Terry Vincent got a black flag, I think, for crossing the white line coming out of pit exit. So that gives you straight away a black flag penalty. Ron Blackwell has also jumped into pit lane. But the battles are thick and fast. Doug Betts in the number 3 Porsche, trying to make his way through, just gets past on Philip Kelly in the number 77 Marlboro liveried Mustang before the Le Mans chicane, formerly known as the bus stop. But obviously with there being a lot of ties between the Daytona International Speedway and also the Circuit de la Sarthe, of course Le Mans, which hosts the 24 Hours of Le Mans every single year, blue Riband event of the World Endurance Championship, right in the middle of the blazing hot French summer, depending if the rain does decide to come along. But joining Philip Kelly and Doug Betts in that battle for P5 is Dennis Crosby. Josiah Kelly in the number 11 Ferrari, who was the one that lost his front bumper in that incident with Stephen Flurry, has just dived into pit lane. So Joao Baptista to the high side. He's trying for the old Nigel Mansell dummy through into T1 and dives to the inside with millimetres to spare on Jamie MacArthur. Great lunge by Joao Baptista to get back into P3.
Yeah, Joao Baptista, man, I keep gassing him up, and I feel bad as a commentator, as a broadcaster. I'm not trying to pick sides, but someone who you just cannot not root for. Joao Baptista, man, just the way he drives the car, the hunger. He comes into the booth, the language barrier's there, but he's just a good time. You know, you can tell he has a good head on his shoulders. So Joao Baptista, man, trying to get it done here at Daytona.
Exactly, you could probably call him the Resident Series' well, if you want to talk about a current driver running in GTDs when it comes to BMW Motorsport. He's probably our equivalent of Augusto Farfus when it comes to Brazilian representation. But Kyle Smith has really started to open up the taps on the BMW number 55, and his lead is nearly 2.6 seconds. You can just see that Kyle Smith is really piecing every single sector of this lap around the Daytona International Speedway, and he's rocketed into the distance. But let's not forget, folks, there is a 65% fuel cap limit for each of the drivers, so there will be a pit stop engaged, as I did see a bit of a lockup of smoke right in front of Kyle Smith for a little bit. There was a bit of a trail in the air. But we're going to see here Terry Vincent in the number 1 Liqui Moly BMW M4 GT3 Evo. That's why there was smoke in the air, and Terry takes a big old hit to the right front. Oh, that's the big thing. You misjudge it at turn 1 here at Daytona, you're either going to be spinning around, or as Terry Vincent just found out, you're going to end up back in pit lane with big damage to the right front.
Yeah, and it's such a weird angle as you're taking turn 1, Alex, because you're coming off of the NASCAR oval. So your steering wheel is going to be positioned naturally a little bit to the left. So when you try to get on those brakes, you really don't want your wheel to be turned, but it kind of has to be to make the corner. And it's just a very weird and awkward corner to get right. And I know it's something when I practice on the iRacing official service, it's something I get wrong a lot. So, I mean, I can't blame the driver. It's a very difficult corner.
Yeah, and in the meantime, Michael Prince in the 45 BMW has just gone off circuit. He's dropped a few places. He's now ended up at the bottom of the pile of the top 15, actually in 15th position. Started 19th on the grid. There's Dennis Crosby, as Michael Prince has got Rafael Rodriguez to his inside, along with Philip Kelly, who have both got through. So Michael Prince, has he sustained a little bit of drama? And this is going to be going into the kink at turn number 4, and that is one of the Ferraris behind him. And yeah, Michael Prince has got damage. That right front is understeering, and he's gone straight on, so there's damage to the car. And well, that is going to give him a big old track cut. Here's Jacob Cummings coming through into turn 6 and 7, and over rotates going into 7 onto the banking. Whoops. Porsche doing Porsche things there, I'm afraid, for Jacob, but he manages to get the car pointing in the right direction through into turn 8 and gets back out on track.
Yeah, and I mean, in the Porsche, you know, I said earlier towards the top of the broadcast, my favorite was the AMG. The Porsche is a very, very close second, and that is something that I do a lot. It's a very light car. It's very quick on the foot. So, I mean, those spin-outs like that are inevitable, really, when you're learning the car and when you're a young up-and-coming racer here on the iRacing official service. But, I mean, it's fun, man. That's the beauty of the GT3 series we have here. If you want safe, if you want sturdy, you go BMW. If you want agile, if you want quick, you go McLaren. If you want some high power, top-end speed, you go AMG, you go Mustang. Can't go wrong with the Corvette as well. So it's just so much variety, and it's something that's just so beautiful about the series.
Indeed, we are nearly at 1/4 of the ticker time, counting down from 60 minutes to 0 as Jamie MacArthur in the number 75 Porsche, the man from Canada, trying to chase down the Brazilian in front of him, João Baptista, holding on to P3 at the moment as they go out of the Le Mans chicane through into turn 12 and 13, and again the slipstream here on the 31-degree oval banking, showcasing the power of the toe, and Jamie MacArthur right on the rear diffuser of João Baptista as they go across the stripe. And he's nearly bump drafting Baptista down into turn 1. Decides to lift off the gas a little bit and get through into turn 1. Stephen Fleury has had a black flag and now also a slowdown penalty. So I think he might have hit his instant points limit, unfortunately, on that first occasion. But still, nevertheless, rounding out your top 10 at the moment, it's Kyle Smith that continues to lead. Here's the battle for P11. Ryan Peters versus Jeff Sanders in the McLaren. Jeff Sanders, for the Raccoon Sim Racing number 30, gets through. And that was on the run coming out of turn number 13 into the front stretch, and then makes the move stick around turn 1. Ryan Peters didn't really fight that, to be honest with you, because there's a lot still to go. We hit 3/4 of an hour remaining out of the 60 here for the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits iRacing League. And you've got Alex Goldschmidt and Matt Nelson here in the Racer Nexus broadcast booth, giving you all the play-by-play. Jesse Chase closing in on James Clark in the Corvette number 21, heading into the Horseshoe. And lovely to see that that's sort of like that Nardo grey, that's like chalk grey livery on that Ferrari. And then you've got the deep burgundy red on the Corvette in front, so they come out of turn 7 and will make their way round down the back stretch. And it's wonderful to see the camera shots here as well to showcase just the grandeur of this circuit, as it's BMW versus Mustang here. Philip Kelly in the number 77 Mustang chasing down the number 80 of Brazil's Rafael Rodriguez down the backstretch and heading into the Le Mans chicane. And Kelly thought there might have been a little bit of room to try and get through on the Brazilian into the Le Mans chicane. Meantime, James Clark has been caught by Rafael Rodriguez as the BMW goes toe-to-toe with the Corvette. And they're going to head through turns 12, now into 13. The BMW is starting to stretch its legs. And there you see the slipstream come into play. The sparks flying from the diffuser of the Corvette as Rodriguez goes to the low side. And through he goes for 14th position. This might give the opportunity for Philip Kelly in the 77 Mustang to close up a little bit on the 21 Corvette. But Philip Kelly, having a slight off-track going through into the outside of turn number 1, managed to keep it into the right direction. But Philip Kelly has just picked up a slowdown penalty. But meantime, your top 10 with 43 minutes to go. It's Kyle Smith leading the way, Jed Cotterman in second, Joao Baptista and Jamie MacArthur battling over third and fourth. Dennis Crosby in the 22 Mustang rounds out your top 5 ahead of the 958 Lamborghini. Aaron Sanford, who started 11th, now runs P6. Kenneth Köpping in the 81 Mustang up 7 spots, now runs P7, starting 14th. Oliver Brooks in the 31 Mustang started 13th, now runs 8th, ahead of Doug Betts. And the number 84 of Timothy Reisenhoff, who started 22nd, now rounds out your overall top 10 here in the second from last round of the series. And there is the number 84. Good job by him, just keeping his nose clean was the big thing in lap 1. And Timothy Reisenhoff has really played that game well, and he's closing quite quickly on the number 3 Porsche of Doug Betts. And then, well, he's got an opportunity of at least 8th at the moment, because Oliver Brooks is only just a fraction ahead of Doug Betts in the number 31 Mustang.
Yeah, and Timothy Reisenhoff as well, you know, call him the ultimate opportunist. You know, almost like Edge from back in the day, wrestling. And, you know, he was always there. He's always in the right spot, whether it was beating John Cena or whether it was cashing in Money in the Bank. However it may be, Timothy Reisenhoff as well here, being the ultimate opportunist. The chaos that occurred on lap 1 did him no harm. And now, like you said, he is up 12 spots, doing very good for himself here in P10.
Yes, indeed. Edge, now known as Adam Copeland, wrestling in AEW as the Rated R Superstar. I'm glad he was able to keep that moniker heading over into new pastures. But more to the point, Reisenhoff, we ride on board in cockpit with the 84 Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 under that big long snout of a Falterbach's finest. And it's getting to be very, very close. So Mustang, Porsche and Mercedes battling over P8. And Oliver Brooks going for that very much. Oh, now that's a bit of a run wide coming out of turn 7. So Doug Betts and Timothy Reisenhoff will profit from that. Betts to the low side through out of turn number 8 and gets the job done quickly. And here comes Reisenhoff with a head of steam. He goes to the high side as Brooks drops down behind Doug Betts. So the Mustang will have the straight line speed advantage over the Porsche. And more to the point, he's keeping position, which is a good thing. That's what these drivers need to do here at Daytona, as James Clark still being chased down by Jesse Chase in the 323 Ferrari, the highest placed Ferrari at the moment, and he's 21 seconds up the road from Josiah Kelly in the number 11. And there is Josiah, who's replaced the front bumper after that incident. Ron Blackwell has gone into pit lane again for the second time. 22.23 seconds spent on his marks. A very short pit road here at Daytona. As we're going to see Doug Betts going through into the Le Mans chicane, and that is not what you want through the second half of it. He over-rotates the car, the sausage curves, bumps the right rear into the air, and Doug Betts did not need that to happen, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Doug Betts, very unfortunate for him, but hey, the bus stop is, in my opinion, if you're not including turn 1, because with the new track limit changes, I'm sure that now becomes the most technical and the most, you know, precise corner on the circuit. But the bus stop now, you know, the Le Mans chicane, I feel like that's where I make a lot of my mistakes. That, and you know, the infield doesn't really trouble me. It's the bus stop, it's the Le Mans chicane. So, you know, something personally that when I'm a young upcoming driver, when I'm learning these circuits, that's the one that I really, you know, want to hammer in and get right quick.
The thing is, you used to on iRacing be able to straight line the second half of it, a bit much like they do in real life, as Joao Baptista is pulling a little bit more of a gap over Jamie MacArthur in the battle for the final step on the rostrum here for this round of Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 iRacing League here at Daytona International Speedway. But more to the point, Kyle Smith really pushing a lot in that number 55 BMW. He's 4.1 seconds up the road, and he still has the fastest lap of the race. 1:44.658 in the number 55 Turn 3 Esports BMW M4 GT3. Looking resplendent in that matte black Monster Energy livery. So we're going to have a replay here with Ron Blackwell in the 27 McLaren heading into the Le Mans chicane. And, oh, that's going to smart, I'm afraid, for the number 27. So no front hood on that car. And he's going to have to return that to, and that was why he was in the pits for 22 seconds. But Kyle Smith just treating this like a Saturday evening drive in the Florida sunshine here. Mac is doing a sterling job at the front end of the field. Jesse Chase, in the meantime, has just gone off circuit in the 323 Ferrari 296, and this is going to be coming through out of turn number 2. Now, is this going to be the Rodriguez International? No, it's not, and he's going to go off circuit. Careful, Jesse, careful. Doesn't take out any of the signage boards and manages to reverse the car back. Well played. That was very, very well held. That could have been rather nasty if he'd gone into the barriers on the infield.
Yeah, and I'm sure WeatherTech is very, very pleased that their lawn signs on the in the infield are not destroyed by the car here, as we see a big spin out of Ryan Peters, I think that is. So, yeah, the Mustang going around and around.
Yeah, and that is going to drop him a few places down the order behind Rafael Rodriguez and the 21 Corvette of James Clark. So, going to have a look here. Now, this is coming out of turn 9. Oh, that car snapped on him big time coming out of 9. That's something you rarely see coming onto the back stretch. So Kenneth Cupping has now decided to jump into pit lane as there is Philip Kelly in the 77. Oh, and he's lost it. And that's the thing about this track, and you were saying about that as well a little bit earlier, Mac, that this track really can bite, you know, when you're learning. As, oh, Joao Baptista's just lost it on the infield, right in front of Jamie MacArthur coming out of 2. And Joao Baptista, remember what happened to him at VIR? My goodness me. And they say that lightning should not strike twice, and Joao Baptista always just touched the grass with one of the wheels, isn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that is all he did. Joao Baptista just getting a little bit of that grass on that left rear when he was putting down the throttle, heading out of that penultimate corner of the infield. And very, very, very similar to his fortunate, or unfortunate, I should say, demise at VIR.
Well, still, it keeps him in 4th position because there was a big gap between him and the 22 Mustang of Dennis Crosby, who rounds out your top 5. Joao Baptista has also put in the fastest lap of the race, 1:44.401. So Brazilian not short of a fast lap or two when he's hustling that car along. There you can see the respective deltas between drivers just briefly at the bottom part of your screens in the center of it, as Joao Baptista is going to bring the Mustang in. The 03 hits pit road after about 25 minutes of racing. So very soon, I would say, we should have probably around about 5 or 10 minutes worth of pit stops coming here, Mac. And this short pit road here at Daytona, for a lot of drivers will be thinking, thank goodness for that, because Joao Baptista parks it very close in his stall right towards the end of pit road, and he can get on that gas very, very quickly.
Yeah, hopefully Joao Baptista can have a very good, very safe, very textbook pit stop here, because he's going to need all the help he can get from the racing gods intervening at another spot out here on track, because the unfortunate spin for him means that these guys up front are going to have to make a similar mistake if he wants to catch back up.
Yeah. And, well, at the moment, Joao Baptista, nearly 26 seconds in pit road. He's out of pit road and now will rejoin in around 12th position. Ahead of Josiah Kelly. Kyle Smith makes his way out of the Le Mans chicane and heads through turn numbers 11, 12, and now into 13 and onto the front stretch. There is Aaron Sanford now up into P5, and he's chasing down Dennis Crosby. So it's the battle of the V-powered engine. So V10 versus V8 into the Le Mans chicane, bumping over the curbs, nice and neat and tidy from the pair. But this is going to be the opportunity for the V10 powered Lamborghini Huracan to try and close in on the V8 powered Mustang in front. The gap is 0.3 and closing. But whether Crosby decides, I don't want any part of this, and dives into pit lane, we'll very shortly find out. And at this point, they're going through into the top part of the tri-oval. Both will continue onwards as Aaron Sanford finds himself just about 0.3 of a second back as they go into the braking zone here for turn 1. So the battle for 4th and 5th starts to intensify here at Daytona. But as we ride on board with Aaron Sanford, also did a really good job at VIR in his own right, the highest placed Lamborghini, the only Lamborghini in the field that we've actually got. Another car that you said about the Mercedes AMG, you know, it's a true powerhouse, but in many respects, yes, in the hands of Timothy Reisenhoff, who is now up 15 spots. Started 22nd, now runs a genuine P7. The 84 doing a great job here as we're 2.5 minutes away from half time. Here at Daytona International Speedway for this round of the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 iRacing League. And you're joined by Alex Goldschmidt and Mac Nelson here in the Racer Nexus broadcast booth. Trackside at Daytona, Kenneth Cupping has also tried to make some indent into the opposition in front, but he currently runs and rounds out the top 15 in the number 81 Ford Mustang, giving away those Tron Legacy kind of vibes that we talked about back at VIR a couple of weeks ago, Mac.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, yeah.
So I'm just wondering whether it's definitely not. It's definitely not Flynn. It's definitely not Sam Flynn. It's definitely more a bit like Clue with that slight highlighty yellow he's got with the dark black on the majority of the body of that Mustang. But another great livery that we see with the pony on both rear wheel arches of that wonderful 5.4 litre naturally aspirated Coyote V8. James Clark doing pretty well, actually. Up 7 spots in the Corvette Z06 GT3R. Up down to P10. But Timothy Reisenhoff is the biggest mover of the night. Jed Codderman now has finally pitted in the Codderman Racing number 7 992 GT3R Porsche. So pit stops we'll probably see around about the 25-second mark. For Jed Codderman, it's going to be a little bit longer. 28.3 as the number 7. Lights up the rear tyres and over the line to then start to accelerate out of pit road. And then there through goes James Clark up into 9th position. Stephen Flurry has again had another mechanical black flag, so I think Stephen's going to be ruining this race here at Daytona. But if he's running in the iRacing special event, the iRacing Daytona 24 as presented by VCO next week, at least he can say, well, at least I got all those mechanical black flags out of the way here at Breaking Bad Pushing Limits.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want these problems to happen while you're doing the 24-hour race. That's sort of what, you know, leagues like this do. They'll run these special event races a week beforehand. So that way teams, that way drivers can come in here. They can be on brand. They can be related to, because they are inevitably practicing endless hours for the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona. So it's a very good thing honestly, for all these mechanical failures, for all these mistakes, get them out of the way now, because in the grand scheme of things, a league race like this compared to an accolade on the iRacing official service, you know, something regulated, sanctioned by iRacing, that's the ultimate prize, in my opinion.
Yeah, and as we have just hit the halfway mark of this 60-minute encounter here at the World Centre of Racing, big thank you to everyone watching on the Racer Nexus Broadcast Network at the moment. If you haven't already, please give us a like, share, and a subscribe whilst you're at it. And also hit that notification bell. It will give you an idea of what racing is coming up here in the weeks and months ahead. And more to the point, we have to give a big shout out to trackcams22.com for the track cams that you see, that we see here on the broadcast live every single time we go racing. And also a big shout out to our good friends at the Apex Sim Racing Shop. If you want to get a cheeky 5% discount on all purchases on checkout, use the coupon code Racer Nexus. That's all lowercase, all one word, and go to the referral link down in the description to get your cheeky 5% off any gear you buy through the Apex Sim Racing Shop. So pit stops very much in effect. Rafael Rodriguez has just come out of pit lane in the number 80 BMW M4 after 24.3 seconds. Jed Cotterman at the moment, 28.33. Oliver Brooks matched him. Kenneth Köpping, 28.83 seconds stationary. And obviously with the unlimited tyres, one of the things that with a circuit that has so much track surface variation, especially with the infield here, Mac, that will be conducive to quite high tyre degradation, especially when you're braking so hard going through out of turn 13 into the front stretch trioval and then hard on the anchors into turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Just the track layout itself, elevation change, all of that, it is going to play a very big factor in tire degradation. Another thing is, we're in Florida, so it's going to be hot. Florida is hot all the time. Luckily, we have a pretty cool night here at virtual Daytona, 64 degrees, 66 degree track temperature. But if this was the middle of the day in July, Alex, we'd be having blazing hot track temperatures, and the tire degradation would really be getting to these drivers.
Yes, indeed, as Kyle Smith and Jamie MacArthur pretty much pitted at the same time. Kyle Smith out after 25 seconds stationary. Jamie MacArthur also out of pit lane. Doug Betts and James Clark have now come in, along with Philip Kelly in the number 77. And it looks like Stephen Fleury is not going to take any further participation in that race, because that car has been on its marks in the pit road for over 4.5 minutes. As now Doug Betts lights up the rear tyres on the number 3 Porsche, exits out of pit road. It's a very, very long pit road exit, as they will come through out of turn 2. And then as soon as they get past that yellow line, they can then start applying the power. And he's got to be very careful on the pit lane exit not to cross the pit exit line, otherwise you will pick up a black flag. So the change is afoot, and at the meantime, with 26.5 minutes to go, Aaron Sanford in the number 958 Lamborghini is still leading, but he's gone for the longer 3000 IQ undercut strategy here, as we are on lap number 19. Timothy Reisnov rounds out second. Jeff Sanders in the number 30 McLaren now up into P3, and he's only about 1.8 seconds behind. Sanford now pits from the race lead. Now, is Reisnov going to dive into pit lane at the same time? Yes, he does. And Jeff Sanders will carry on. So Jeff Sanders now becomes the de facto leader once we rotate and Sanders comes into pit lane. Going to have a moment here. This is with Doug Miller in the 66 Mustang. And this is through the Le Mans chicane. Bumps over the curbing. Oh, that's going to be a hard hit into the wall. Big, big left side impact for the 66 Mustang. He took too much of the inside curb coming through the chicane. Rafael Rodriguez has to use the shortcut ever so slightly and then ends up going into the barriers. That was uncustomary for the Brazilian. I think that car, I'm wondering if he had some issues there, because that was a hard, hard hit.
Yeah, very, very hard hit indeed. And what you're seeing now is Dennis Crosby, turn 3 esports driver in that number 22 Mustang, coming to the Le Mans chicane. Just classic case of the oversteer, the rear end stepping out, and that's going to cost him a position.
Yeah, so Dennis Crosby was tracking true around here at Daytona as Jeff Sanders in the Raccoon Sim Racing number 30 McLaren 720S GT3 makes his way down the backstretch and into the Le Mans chicane here on lap number 20. So we are coming up to just over 24 and a half minutes remaining in this 60-minute race. And Jeff Sanders really going deep into the second half of this race. And he's really pushing the envelope on fuel. Meantime, Dennis Crosby has got Timothy Reisenhoff just in front of him. Doug Betts just behind. So this is the battle for P8 as Crosby to the inside of the Mercedes, the 84. So can the Mustang get the legs on the Mercedes? The answer is a definitive yes. As Reisenhoff dives to the inside, Jeff Sanders now finally dives into pit lane in the number 30 McLaren on lap 20 to serve his pit stop. And Doug Miller is going to be there for the foreseeable future, I'm afraid, with that big incident coming out of the Le Mans chicane. And Kyle Smith retakes the lead, and he is 10.7 seconds ahead of Jed Cotterman. Jeff Sanders' pit stop is probably just over halfway through at the minute as we speak. But if he's going to be probably around about the 22-second mark, I would think. 21.6, not too far off a guesstimate there as the number 30 Raccoon Sim Racing McLaren makes its way out of pit road. So good job there by Jeff Sanders to go back one lap later, and that means he's going to have less fuel to worry about as we head towards the checkered in about 23 minutes here, Mac.
Yeah, theoretically, lighter car means a little better in the corners. You're going to be able to stop that car a little better. You're going to be able to take off, gather speed a little easier as well. So, yeah, maybe a big 3,000 IQ play like you said, or, you know, is it just going to be kind of normal run-of-the-mill strategy and nothing's going to change? Not entirely sure, but what I do know is that Kyle Smith is starting to have his lead taper off a little bit. He was steady gaining, Alex, and now over the past 2 laps, it's kind of just flattened out. So are we seeing maybe a shift? Is Cotterman going to be a faster driver now?
Well, at the moment, judging by the lap times, Kyle Smith lasted a 45.388, Jed Cotterman a 45.527, so about just under a tenth and a half between the pair. But the BMW is the consummate GT3 all-rounder, and Kyle Smith, his main game plan from now, with 22 minutes to go, would be just conserve as much of that lead as humanly possible. And there is Jed Cotterman. He's just crossed the stripe. Yeah, 2.5 tenths quicker was Kyle Smith. So I think he's still got that lead in the bag, so to speak. But we know that when you have a 60-minute race around a demanding circuit like Daytona International Speedway road course, anything can happen. There is always that air of unpredictability, particularly in GT3s, as we now have a replay. And this is Timothy Reisenhoff, who this is into turn 1. Oh, over rotation from the 84. He manages to catch it, does not tangle with the barrier, and nearly catches the right rear quarter on the inside wall, but rotates the car nicely, rejoins behind Doug Betts. So Timothy Reisenhoff still the biggest gainer of the night. He's had another off track as well, ever so briefly, but he's holding on to that P10. Ryan Peters in the number 5, however. Big dramas for the Mustang. Now this is coming down the backstretch. It's the Le Mans chicane again. It's bitten once more over the curbing. Off he goes and bang, straight into the barriers.
Yeah, that Le Mans chicane, man, I'm telling you, this is a league that has a 1,500 I rating cap. So these guys, you know, I say it a lot. You've heard me say it in past weeks if you're an avid viewer of the Breaking Bad GT3 series, that these guys are young. They're upcoming drivers. Most of them are new to the service, and that Le Mans chicane is going to be one of those corners that plagues you. It's going to keep you up at night. But, you know, hammering it home, getting it right, and getting faster every single time you try to approach it, or at least attempting to, it's going to help you out as a driver, and it's really going to grow you. And this track is just one of those tracks, man. You learn it, you love it, and you get better from it.
Yeah, definitely the case. But what we're seeing now is that Kyle Smith is starting to extend that lead again, as now Aaron Sanford, side by side with Joao Baptista through The tri-oval gets through, so the McLaren, so now the Lamborghini now up into P4. Joao Baptista's last lap was a 1:46.1. Aaron Sanford, personal best lap of the race, 1:44.831 by the Lamborghini. So Aaron Sanford, who we saw at VIR a couple of weeks ago, didn't have the best run of qualifying, but he's able to get the race pace underneath that 5.2 litre naturally aspirated V10 mid-mounted rear-wheel drive Lamborghini every single time. Kenneth Cupping is making some moves up the order. He's closing in on the number 21 of James Clark, and there is Timothy Ryzanov, who was running P10, now running 12th. So Ryzanov, oh, he's had further drama, no rear wing, no front bumper. So the 84 has hit further drama. That is going to be absolutely loose as hell on the rear end of that Mercedes. And look, all through the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, as I said, no rear wing, no aerodynamic downforce on the back end of that car, and Ryzanov's race has gone from great to absolutely pretty bad. It looks like there's some damage. It's towing in. Look, it's grabbing on the right rear. So he's had an impact with the front, or he's had an impact with the rear. So it's taken off the rear wing. So Ryzanov has got a car that needs to come into pit lane, because I'm sure that might pick up a mechanical black flag very shortly. That is huge damage for Ryzanov, who was doing so well until the pit stops.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate for Timothy Ryzanov there in the AMG. Dennis Crosby as well in that number 22 Mustang. He's coming into turn one, a case of the oversteers, and that's going to be the main suspect for a lot of the drama that we have here tonight, Alex.
Yes, indeed, Matt, because we are counting down the minutes. 18 to go. Kyle Smith now has lost a little bit of that lead. Jed Cotterman took a second out of him on that last lap. It was a 1:45.9 for Kyle Smith, 1:44.9 for Jed Cotterman. So the gap is around about the 10-second marker. So Jed Cotterman finding some pace in the latter stages, but always the consummate professional, the man from the Cotterman Racing team, as well, Kenneth Cupping finds himself in 12th position, closing in on James Clark. So this is a great little battle here for 11th position. Timothy Ryzanov did go into pit lane and was 24.8 on his markers, and would have effected a quick repair within that pit stop window. Well, no, he's actually in for his second pit stop, so Ryzanov has got big damage on that car. Whether he can effect a fast repair on it is another bone of contention. And at the minute, no, looks like he's going to be repairing that damage for quite a little bit of time. So from hero to zero for Timothy Ryzanov, I'm afraid, as we're 17 minutes until the check-in here at Daytona. But that's unfortunately what happens in racing. You have a great race, and then all of a sudden it all goes horribly wrong. Carl Dersham back into pit road in the number 093 Ford Mustang. That's his third pit stop of the evening so far. So whether he's picked up damage as well, Timothy Ryzanov is going to be there for a little while, I'm afraid, as Jesse Clark in the number 323 Ferrari 296 GT3 running P14. I haven't seen much of him this evening, but he's still up 4 spots, having started on the outside of row number 9 when we started this race just under 45 minutes ago. But still, Jed Cotterman is taking time every single lap out of Kyle Smith, and the gap is now down to just under 10 seconds. Last time round, high 44.9 for Cotterman, high 45.1 for Kyle Smith. So Jed Cotterman thinks, let's see how much of this lead I can get out of the way before I get close enough to try and put the frighteners on Kyle Smith. But with just over a quarter of an hour to go, it may be a tall order, but that's dependent on whether Kyle Smith hits traffic.
Yeah, Ron Blackwell here in the number 27 McLaren. He's been on the screen a lot. Unfortunately, it's been for things like that. Just cannot link up correctly with the car he is driving, that McLaren. Unfortunately, spinning around and around for him for most of the night. So not a week to remember here for Ron Blackwell, but hopefully a week that he can forget, brush it off, and next week when we go to Long Beach, he can be in top form.
Yes, indeed. We hit the streets of Long Beach for the penultimate round of the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 iRacing League live here on Racer Nexus. We'll be bringing you also it'll be week 7 out of 8. And as always, a 60-minute sprint on every single race that we go to here on the series, which will conclude at Sebring International Raceway. So another Floridian circuit here at Daytona, and then in 2 weeks' time we go to the home of the 12 Hours of Sebring when it comes to the iRacing special events. But Kyle Smith starting to really push a little bit. Oh, we've got a moment here for Adam Sanford now. This is into turn 3 at the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. Turns it in over rotation halfway through the apex. So Adam Sanford now loses 4th place, and it returns into the hands of the 0-3 from Brazil, Joao Baptista. Jamie MacArthur, the number 75 from Canada in the Porsche, has been running very, very strong indeed. Started 5th on the inside of row number 3 when we went green just over 46 minutes ago. And he's now having a little bit of a lonely race, but it's a good, solid result for this man here.
Yeah, Jesse Chase as well. Unfortunately, we just got the ping in the timing tower. Le Mans Chicane is going to claim another life here, Alex, and it's going to be an unfortunate exit for the 3-2-3.
It's like trying to do a, you know that you can complete the level on Super Mario Brothers, then all of a sudden you get the noise that tells you that you've just lost a life, and that's exactly what's just happened there for Jesse Chase, who has been into the pits again in the 323, and we have had quite a few drivers that have fallen by the wayside. The likes of Ryan Peters, Rafael Rodriguez, Stephen Flurry, Jacob Cummings, Michael Prince, Terry Vincent, and Shahan Karim being the first driver out on the on the second lap of the race, as Jesse Chase now rejoins. And for those new to Racer Nexus and also to iRacing, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Live from Daytona International Speedway, Alex Goldschmidt and Mac Nelson in the Racer Nexus broadcast booth. Here trackside, and Dennis Crosby. He was running a little bit further up the top 10, but still for him in the number 22 Turn 3 Esports Mustang. Very, very colourful livery on that car. Nice to see that. If you had Google Maps on Daytona right now, you can't exactly miss Dennis Crosby's livery in that 22 Stang. That is a wonderful, wonderful livery. James Clark rounding out the top 10, and he's got Kenneth Cupping, our Tron Legacy tribute band in the Mustang 81. Closing in, the gap is 0.3 of a second. And this is great to see American Muscle battling it out here at Daytona, out of the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, then into the quick left flick here at turn 4. Kenneth Cupping really seems to be getting closer and closer to James Clark as they will now make their way out of turn 7 and 8. That Mustang thunders across the circuit. That is a wonderful noise from that V8. But Kenneth Cupping now starting to try and get a little bit of slipstream as they come down the backstretch, heading once again into the Le Mans chicane. So James Clark has got to cross the T's, dot the I's here. And you can see the suspension travel on both cars. Of course, the Ford Mustang, not the most aerodynamically gifted in terms of design GT3 car that we see on the iRacing service and in real life, but despite that, that Coyote V8 really does give it a lot of straight line speed as they will now come through into the tri-oval. We are heading into the final 10 minutes, and meantime, what has happened? Jed Cotterman is having some ping issues, I believe, because it quickly swapped between him and Jamie MacArthur. It's righted itself there, but one thing that you don't want to have happen towards the tail end of a race is to have either a PC crash or a disconnect. And Jed Cotterman was a very, very lucky individual at that point.
Yeah, and much like, a real racing team, random engine failure, brake fade, something of that sort, something you can't really see coming. that in the sim world is, a PC crash or a router disconnect or maybe servers dropping. So for these guys that are, into sim racing, it is, something they have a passion about. They're trying to pursue, the best outcome possible in the sim racing world. That's something that can't be happening. So with Jed Cotterman, that ping issue unfortunately might send him back to the pits. We all know the update to latency and packet loss and the blinkers, they call them, in the iRacing online world in the official races. We know that they dropped that, and you can no longer be lagging for X amount of time before you get kicked back to the pits. So hopefully that does not happen here to the number 7 driver of Jed Cotterman.
Yeah, I mean, I was commentating on a 4-hour race at Misano earlier on today, and unfortunately, Absolute Motorsport Acelith at the 4 hours of Misano for a sports car championship with 12 minutes to go, running P5 in the class, and the driver's PC crashed on them. And that was a big haul of points that they lost in that particular championship, which was a real shame. But that does show that sim racing is not completely infallible, ladies and gentlemen. But more to the point, Joao Baptista is still trying to gather time, and he's been lapping about 1.1 seconds quicker than Jamie McArthur. Meantime, Jed Cotterman has just done his personal best lap of the race of 44.8, and that gap is now down to just over 9.1 seconds. So Kyle Smith is now of the age of thinking, okay, right, bring the car home, get the W. Jed Cotterman is thinking, right, I've got 8.25 minutes to go. Let's see if I can really bring the race to him. And he's just done another personal best. Back-to-back fastest laps personally for Jed Cotterman. A 1:44.772. He measured through the top speed trap at 181.9 miles an hour, 2 miles an hour quicker than Kyle Smith, who was 2/1000 shy of a 1:45. But again, we're seeing that timing ebb and flow through particular sectors. Kyle Smith has got the run in sector 1, and then it's through the latter 2 sectors is where that Porsche really starts to shine. As we're 7.5 minutes from the checkered, we are on lap number 30 of this motor race for week 6 out of 8 for the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 iRacing League, live here on Racer Nexus. Big thank you as always to you all for tuning in. We still have 2 more weeks to go. Long Beach next week, and then Sebring International Raceway on the 24th of January to bring the series to a close. And looking at the rate of attrition that we've had, well, Timothy Reisenoff, I think, has called time after nearly 10 minutes of repairs in the pit box. He is still in there. So out of the 25 starters, the last driver still running on the circuit is the 27 McLaren of Ron Blackwell. There's Josiah Kelly. He started 8th. Looks like Ron's picked up a little bit more damage on the front end of that McLaren. The hood looking a little bit out of alignment on the front of the McLaren 720S. But Josiah Kelly started P8, currently runs P13. Wasn't exactly happy with the incident that involved him and Stephen Flurry a little bit earlier on, but nevertheless, to still get to the end of the race here at Daytona is an achievement in all its own right.
Yeah, and Josiah Kelly in that number 11 Ferrari, I think it's very fitting here that Josiah Kelly, as he goes to the inside there, and that's going to cause a spin for the likes of Ron Blackwell. And unfortunately, Ron, you do kind of need to yield the way. You are a back marker. Josiah Kelly trying his best to, stick it down on the inside, not wash up. But Josiah Kelly, even though he is 13th, he has been collected in a few of these mishaps here and around the track. Nothing too crazy, but he's staying in the car. He's getting the laps done because he knows that there are drivers in the pit. There are drivers that have, thrown the white flag. They are out of this race. So there's potential for that to happen inside of this last 5 minutes. So any spot he can get by just cruising the car along is going to be a big W for that number 11 camp.
Yeah, Ron Blackwell's got a black flag, so that's going to be a penalty going through into pit lane. Stephen Flurry has rejoined the server. So the number 71, and he's, oh dear, that is big damage to the back end of that number 71 Ferrari 296. It's got damage on the rear, so no rear wing, no back bumper to speak of, no diffuser. And he's keeping it to the high side to keep out of the way of everybody else. He's going to have to bring that back into pit road, I'm afraid. So not been a great run for the 71, embroiled in that turn 3 lap 1 incident that we saw earlier on. Kenneth Köpping in the meantime has got Philip Kelly in the number 77 McLaren Marlboro liveried tribute band on that Mustang closing in. So this is the battle for 11th spot as we head into the final 4 minutes and 20 seconds. And now the gap between Kyle Smith and Jed Cotterman is around about the 8.5 second mark. But meantime, Kyle Smith is just keeping it on terra firma. Jed Cotterman is trying to drive that Porsche like he stole it. And last time around, well, he was the best part of over 3.5 tenths of a second quicker.
Yeah, but Jed Cotterman, unfortunately, Alex, these lap times are not going to cut it. He has got to chop more into this lead, and with every single lap that passes, it just feels like an impossible challenge. When we were 12 minutes to go and the lead was 10.5 seconds, I mean, yeah, you push, you get 8 tenths a lap out of him, you know, maybe you're there on the last lap, but that had to be then, and this is now, and with 3.5 minutes to go, he's still 8 seconds down. I mean, it's just looking all but over for the number 7 team of Jed Cotterman's Porsche.
Yeah, but the main thing is it's going to be a good solid result here at Daytona International Speedway. 3.25 minutes remain. Kyle Smith continues to lead the gap now under 8 seconds between him and Jed Cotterman, and then a further 15 or so seconds back there is Jamie MacArthur in the 75 Porsche, the Canadian, doing a really, really good job. Joao Baptista a further 11.5 seconds behind. He makes his way through the Le Mans chicane in the 03 Elite Motorsport Team Mustang, and then AMS Engineering's Aaron Sanford in the 958 Lamborghini rounds out your official top 5. Jeff Sanders in 6th. In the number 30 Raccoon Sim Racing McLaren, Doug Betts trying to close in on him. The number 3 Porsche rounding out your top 7. Dennis Crosby and Oliver Brooks in the 22 and the 31 Mustang round out your top 9, with the 21 Corvette of James Clark bringing up the rear in the top 10. But more to the point, Kyle Smith is keeping, as I said, he just wants to conserve as much as that lead as possible, and he's done exactly that. He has led every single lap so far since we went green nearly 58 minutes ago, as we're coming up to 2 minutes remaining. And with the lap times at around about a 1 minute 45, next time around, Kyle Smith, I'm sure, will more than likely get the white flag here at Daytona International Speedway. The road course variation that's been in use since 1985, measures 3.56 miles, 13 corners in all. And Doug Betts really starting to put the hammer down in the Porsche 992 number 3. And he's about half a second behind Jeff Sanders, so a good final throw as, Kenneth Köpping has ended up in pit road, I'm afraid, in the number 81 Mustang with just a minute and a half to spare. So Kenneth Köpping, I think, is going, now was that a possible splash and dash? He's put the car up in the air. Whether he's repairing damage as well will depend on how long he is on his marks in the pit stall. But Kyle Smith now leads us on to what should be the final lap of this race. Lap 34 here at Daytona International Speedway for week 6 out of 8 for the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 iRacing League here at the World Centre of Racing. The Turn 3 Esports number 55 has not put a foot wrong here tonight, Mac.
Yeah, I mean, he's been great, and I said it towards the top of the broadcast, the BMW that is your safe, that is your sturdy car here, especially at Daytona. It's what we at 4X Racing, we typically run the BMW GT3 in all of our endurance events because it is that sturdy car, it is that safe car. So Kyle Smith doing exactly that. He's putting, belt to butt, and he's still got a 6-second lead over Jed Cotterman here.
Joao Baptista, don't tell me you misjudged your fuel reading, buddy. He just had to go into the pits, and he's just exiting out of pit lane. What could have been P4, that's gifted it to Adam Sanford and Jeff Sanders, as we now count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is it. 60 minutes here of racing for Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 here at Daytona International Speedway, out of the Le Mans chicane for what will be the final time. The checkered will fly here at the Tri-Oval, and it will be a lights to flag victory. It's the number 55. It will be Kyle Smith in the BMW M4 GT3 Evo, who is about to cross the line as we speak. There he is. He wins week 6 here at Daytona.
And yeah, that is going to be very, very well done from Kyle Smith, man. You said it, not a foot wrong with that driver. I mean, that is going to be one of the best drives you see inside of this Breaking Bad GT3 Pushing Limits series. I mean, that was just incredible, Alex.
Yeah, and now he takes his victory lap here at the World Centre of Racing. This man here, Kyle Smith, is going to take a bag full of confidence after that lights the flag victory after 34 laps. Jed Codderman and Jamie MacArthur for Porsche in the number 7 and the number 75 round out your overall top 3. Aaron Sanford from 11th on the grid finishes in P4. Doug Betts in the number 3 Porsche makes it 3 from the Weissach-based manufacturer into the top 5, made up 2 spots at the end. Jeff Sanders in the number 30 McLaren started 4th, ends up 6th. Joao Baptista, who ended up on the outside of the front row post-qualifying alongside Kyle Smith, had to do a splash and dash and ends up finishing 7th ahead of Dennis Crosby, James Clark and Philip Kelly. Who is that on their lid? Off of turn 1,
I'm
because I saw.
Entirely sure. Yeah, I saw that as well.
I'm not sure who that was. That's probably Oliver Brooks, maybe. He finishes 11th ahead of Josiah Kelly. Kenneth Cupping in 13th ahead of Jesse Chase. Doug Miller and Kyle Dersham take the checkered. Ron Blackwell will be classified 17th ahead of Timothy Reisenoff, who went from hero to zero in that race. He was running all the way up into the sharp end of the top 10 and ends up in 18th position. Ryan Peters in 19th ahead of Stephen Flurry, who did make it to the checkered in 20th position and had completed 19 laps of distance. Then Rafael Rodriguez, Jacob Cummings, Michael Prince, Terry Vincent and Shahan Karim, as now the celebrations for Kyle Smith on the inside grass here at Pit Road at Daytona, and he lets those donuts fly, does the number 55. A great job by him to pick up the W here at the World Centre of Racing. Yeah, we'll give him his moment in the sun here in just outside of Orlando. Great job by Kyle to take the victory. And here are your provisional results here for week 6 at Daytona International Speedway for the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 iRacing League live here on Racer Nexus. It is Kyle Smith that takes the victory ahead of Jed Codderman, with Jamie MacArthur rounding out your top 3. So BMW rules the roost here at Daytona ahead of 2 Porsches, with the Germans rounding out the podium. Aaron Sanford flying the flag high for Sant'Agata Bolognese for Lamborghini in P4, ahead of Doug Betts. Jeff Sanders, Joao Baptista, Dennis Crosby. Then we got James Clark and Philip Kelly in the number 77 Mustang rounding out your overall top 10. Oliver Brooks, Josiah Kelly, Kenneth Cupping, Jesse Chase, Doug Miller, Carl Dersham, Ron Blackwell, Timothy Reisenoff, Ryan Peters, Stephen Flurry, Rafael Rodriguez, Jacob Cummings, Michael Prince, Terry Vincent and Shahan Karim round out the 25 that ran here at Daytona. But when the sun is setting here at Daytona International Speedway, we're now going to welcome in our week 6 winner, Kyle Smith. Lights to the flag victory here at Daytona from pole position. You must be feeling on cloud 9 right now, my friend.
I kind of am. I kind of am. I mean, Jed kept me honest there at the end. Like, I kept making small mistake, catching lap traffic at the wrong place. And he's just, I see the gap closing and closing and closing. And I was like, oh no. but I tried to hold him off. So
Well, that was the thing. I mean, we were seeing the lap times between you and Jed, and at some points you were taking time, you were adding time to your lead, and then there were times when he was taking time away. So a bit of a pendulum swing, but still, 60 minutes here at Daytona with a pit stop is never easy.
mm-mm. No, it's not at all.
But but I mean, one of the obviously you guys have unlimited tires at your disposal. Did you actually do a tire change at the pit stop?
So no, on these smaller races, it does not benefit because the cold tires just take too long to warm up. So
Mm,
it just to lose that 10 seconds, 15 seconds the next 2, 3 laps, it just does not benefit the fresh tires. So, I mean, I don't take tires. There might be some other people that do, but I don't.
mm. But still, nevertheless, a 5.6 second victory after 34 laps is a pretty good way to round off the weekend, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I put in a lot of practice for this race because I struggled here with the new bus stop chicane, with the new curbing and everything. Really struggled, and I just tried not to make a mistake. So, I mean, I can't I can't hate it because I actually felt that was the most comfortable I felt here in a long time in a GT3 car. So I can't hate it.
Well, Kyle, congratulations on getting to victory lane here at Daytona at the World Center
Mhm.
of Racing. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a thank you to?
Turn 3 Esports, want to thank them for everything they do. I want to thank you guys for putting on this great show, putting on the great broadcast, and I want to thank the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits Racing League. I had nothing but good things to say about them. So I've been having a blast, and hopefully I'll get to talk to you next week.
Brilliant, Kyle. Congratulations once again on the victory, and we'll see you for the penultimate round at week 7 at Long Beach next week. Well done tonight.
Thank you.
So, big thank you there to Kyle Smith. And, well, Mac Nelson, you've managed to find your way down pit road and catch up with our runner up, Jed Cotterman. Handing it over to you, buddy.
Yeah, Jed Cotterman here in that number 7. You finished P2 here tonight, Jed, and tell me, you were basically just trying to catch what seemed like an uncatchable Kyle Smith for most of this race tonight. How was that, and was it frustrating, or were you happy that you and him were able to share, such a big lead on the rest of the grid?
The first couple laps, I knew right away it was going to be tough to keep up with him, and I didn't put enough fuel in the car, unfortunately, so I was starting off at a disadvantage. But yeah, the kudos to him, dude. He ran such a perfect race. We were talking before, you guys pulled us up or whatever, but after the pit stop and I got gas, it was like it just kind of clicked, and the car just kind of settled in. And every time I'd cross the start finish line, I'm like, all right, there's another half a second, there's another half a second, there's another 2/10. Ah, damn, I gave up a half a second. So it was fun. It was a mental game, but it was a fun one. He played the better game of chess, and it is what it is. It was a great time.
Of course. I mean, yeah, it seemed you guys were having a blast out there. Now, I want to look ahead now to Long Beach next week. Is that somewhere that you think you're going to be good at? Is it somewhere do you think you're going to be bad at? And more importantly, how does it compare to Daytona? And does the strategy change, or are you still gunning for that top spot?
Oh man, I'm always good for the top spot. There's no better place to be. You know what I mean? Long Beach, I'm very very comfortable at Long Beach. However, I've never ran it in the Porsche, but I think with that hairpin at the very end before you go on the long straightaway, this short wheelbase in the Porsche, I think I'm going to be able to make up a lot of time right there. Um, as I think the strategy for Long Beach, honestly, I think it's just going to be to survive. I'm gonna have to spend a lot of time in qualifying to try to make sure I get up in the top 2, 3, 4. But I'll make sure I got more fuel. I know that. So it's gonna be a good one. It's really gonna test people's patience and the amount of respect we have for each other, which I think is just great. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well said there from you. Before I let you get out of here and celebrate, the floor is yours, man. Who do you want to thank for the performance here tonight?
Honestly, man, I need to thank a couple guys that I race with week in and week out. Justin, Mike, and Spencer. They've spent a lot of time with me here at Daytona. This was never ever one of my better tracks. It's a home track for me. I live an hour and a half south of here, in Florida. But like I said, they've really spent a lot of time with me and kind of been my big brothers and bringing me up to their level. So kudos to them. Kudos to everybody in the league. I didn't really hear too much commotion, if any, on the radio. So I'm hoping it was a good race, a good broadcast. I'll have to go back and watch it. And as always, you guys do a hell of a job. So I'm glad to have you guys, helping us look good. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Well, we appreciate your time here tonight, Jed. Your P2 finisher here after 60 minutes of Daytona, Jed Cotterman.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and well, I've just managed to make my travels down pit road, and I'm joined by Canada's Jamie MacArthur. Jamie, good evening, and what a run for you! Started pit. Well, I just tried to bring him in, and he jumped back down. Jamie MacArthur joins us in the post-race interview show, our final step on the rostrum. Jamie, good evening. A great run by you. You had a bit of a good little battle with Joao Baptista in the early phase of the race. You got that really good slipstream around the outside of him early doors. How was the race from your side?
It was good. It was nice to be up there racing with them guys, especially him. I mean, he's a real shoe. Yeah, it was. I learned a lot. I learned some new lines, and that's probably one of the reasons why I stay with him so long.
Yeah, and still to cap the evening off with a P3 here at Daytona, especially with the likes of Kyle and Jeff, sort of they pulled a bit of a gap and then started running away and having their own little race between them. But you had a little bit of a more lonelier race once Joao had come to dramas a little bit earlier on, but you still managed to keep it on the black stuff, pointing in the right direction. How was it in the Porsche?
Porsche was good. It's just an amazing car around Daytona. It just eats the curbs up. You can like mess a corner up, and it just gathers itself back up, and it's just a nice car to drive here on the limit or just driving. Conserving fuel.
Now, next week, we go to the streets of Long Beach. Max just had a chat with Jed Cotterman. Obviously, the short wheelbase of the Porsche will play to its strengths. You looking forward to the challenge there?
Absolutely. I love that track. You really got to hit your marks and be very cautious around some of the infield, especially coming onto the front straightaway. That makes or breaks that track. But no, I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully we can get another podium.
Well, before we let you go, Jamie, congratulations on your P3 tonight. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to for your performance this evening?
Just you guys in the broadcast booth, Chad organizing all this, and my girlfriend for the new paint job. She did that last week, so I can't thank her enough.
Brilliant, Jamie. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you next week for the penultimate round of the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits series on the streets of Long Beach. Well done on your P3 tonight.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Well, that wraps up our post-race interview show here at Daytona International Speedway Road Course for week 6 out of 8 for the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 iRacing League. Mac, Daytona never fails to disappoint, does it?
Yeah, I mean, it's prestigious for a reason, Alex. I mean, every single year, I love the Daytona 500. I love when they come here in the fall. I love the Rolex 24, man. I love the F4 series. The F4 America series comes around here as well. So, I mean, it just has its roots in every single form of racing when it comes to racing on asphalt. And yeah, it's just, it's so cool, man.
Indeed. Well, the dust has settled at the Floridian circuit here at Daytona International Speedway. What a race it's been. Kyle Smith dominates from pole position, lights out to checkered flag victory for the Turn 3 Esports number 55 BMW M4 with Jed Codderman and Jamie MacArthur bringing both their respective Porsches home to round out an all-German manufacturer top 3 here for week 6 of Breaking Bad Pushing Limits. And a big thank you, as always, to you all for watching. Just before we go, we have a couple of shout-outs from our side. A big thank you to trackcams22.com, Trackcams for Gourmets, providing our camera angles here for Racer Nexus. And also, finally, to our good friends at the Apex Sim Racing Shop. If you want that cheeky 5% discount off of all your purchases, head to the referral link down in the description below and use on checkout coupon code RACERNEXUS. So it's goodbye from me, it's goodbye from Mac Nelson, it's goodbye from us here at the Racer Nexus Network. We will see you same place, same time for the penultimate round of the series as week 7 sees us move from Daytona to the streets of Long Beach. Until next time, race hard, race fair, and keep it pinned. We'll see you next time. Good night.